Good afternoon. My name is Susan Doyle from Box Media and I will be your facilitator today. I would like to welcome you to Lean Construction Ireland's 28th webinar, the topic of which is the 5S's, Deliver More Value with Less Waste, presented by Dennis Sowards from Quality Support Services. If you have a question, please type it in the question box and we will consolidate and ask Dennis in the second half of the webinar. If there are any questions that we don't get answered during the webinar, we will follow up by email afterwards. The webinar has been brought to you by Lean Construction Ireland in conjunction with Box Media, their media and communications partner. The speaker for today is Dennis Sowards from Quality Support Services. Dennis is a dynamic speaker and lean consultant based in Phoenix, Arizona, USA. He provides a unique look into the application of quality and lean to real-life situations in the construction industry. He has helped contractors implement lean since 1998. His most recent projects include creating a lean certification for UA pipe fitters, delivering lean training at national conferences and local construction associations and chapters, and coaching clients around the world. Dennis is often a guest writer for construction industry magazines with over 50 articles published. His Lean Construction Pocket Guide has sold over 8,500 copies and is used worldwide as a quick reference on lean construction applications. He has completed major research projects for the New Horizons Foundation, including Thinking Lean, Tools for Decreasing Costs and Increasing Profit, and Measuring Customer Loyalty. Dennis holds a BSc and MBA from Arizona State University. He was one of the first members of the Lean Construction Institute and a founding member of the Arizona COP. He is presented at the LCI International Congress and at many local COPs. I will now pass you over to Dennis to start his presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's morning here in Arizona, a sunny morning day. I understand you may have a little rain, and hopefully that won't affect us, and we'll have a sunny day in our webinar today. We have a lot to cover, so I'm going to get right into it. Start with the objectives for this session. I want to start out by talking a little bit about lean thinking, the principles of lean. I think it's important to make sure we have a foundation. I realize that probably most of you have learned about lean and maybe know about the 5S's, but my intent is to remind you of things we all sometimes forget and to increase your understanding of it. More so, I'm going to talk about the 5S's and how they can help your companies. But anytime I do a presentation, my intent is to get people to think lean more often. Not that we don't think lean, but to think lean more of the time. But more than just thinking lean, I want to get people to do lean. And I can promise you that if you'll listen to what we're talking about today, even if you've done the 5S's already, you'll find something else you can do to improve how you go about and improve your company. Now, I want to start out with the question about why lean? Because if people don't buy the why, you're not going to buy any of the other information. We're coming up on the holidays, and in the States, we like pies during the holidays. This is one of my favorites, a chocolate pie. But whatever your favorite is, and I don't know in Ireland what people choose for pies, but what I wanted you to think about is the slice of the pie that you would like. Although really I'm not talking about food, I'm talking about the slice of the work that you're getting in your market. How big is it? How big do you want your slice to be? And what about the future? Is it going to be bigger, smaller, or what do you want? Because what we want to think about with lean is how can we get more work and keep the work that we have? It's not about doing lean for the sake of doing lean. We want to do lean to be more competitive, to get more of the pie. Now, what is lean? The definition I use is that lean thinking is a shift in management's focus to differentiate between value and waste and to deliver more value with less waste to the customer. Now, some of you out there, I assume, have the title of manager or supervisor. And so you might look at this and say, oh, this is management's focus. But I would suggest that all of us are managers. We all manage one person. And our companies entrust us with technology, material, tools, trucks, vehicles, information. so that we can manage how we do our work. And some of you also manage other people, but the idea is, whether it's for ourselves or the people we manage, we want to deliver more value with less waste to our customers. Well, what is value? Value is what transforms a product or service that we provide to our customer to make it what they need and what they're willing to pay for. The economist will say that value is usefulness to cost, what you got to what you spent. Well, in construction, we have three things that our customers look for: quality, schedule, and budget. Well, look at this equation. Where's quality? That's usefulness. The customers come to us because they want us to build something for them that's useful. Well, cost, and cost is more than just money. It's also cost in time and even cost in pain. But the cost in particular for the three things that customers look for is budget. Well, where is schedule? Schedule is kind of usefulness and cost. Our customers don't get anything while we're doing our best work constructing things. And so when we're finished, that's when they start putting more patients in beds or more students in classrooms or making more computer chips or whatever it may be after we're finished. And if we can stay to the schedule or even come in ahead of schedule, that puts them in a better position to make money and to deliver more value to their customers. Now, value is also things done right the first time, and value is the opposite of waste. I'd like to suggest to you that Wastezilla is eating your profits, especially if you're not doing the 5S's. So think about that as we talk about the waste out there and how your profits may be getting gobbled up by Wastezilla. Well, what are the wastes? There are 7 basic wastes. And by the way, I have that word muda. It's a Japanese word for waste, but I find that it's becoming common usage in the English language for people talking about lean, as well as a number of other languages. And here are the 7 wastes. The first one, defects in products. I think we all understand that. Rework and punch list, that's waste. The second one is maybe not as well understood. It's overproduction. This is when we fabricate material or we order it too early or too much too soon. It's a kind of JIC, just in case thinking. And let me explain what I mean by this. If you fabricate at your shop some material or you order it from a vendor and you receive it then at your office, your yard, well, what do you do with it? Well, if you store it at your yard, you probably don't have a lot of room. You may rent a warehouse to store it, and that becomes inventory and waste. But what often happens in construction is we get this material, we fabricate it or we purchase it, and then we send it to the job site. When it arrives at the job site, somebody has to do something with it. That somebody is our people. They have to unload it and put it somewhere. While they're doing that, they're not adding value. We add value when we physically change the nature of the product we're providing to our customers. And in this case, they're just stacking stuff. They're not adding value. Then a few days later, the general contractor's superintendent will come by and say, move it. Well, who moves it? Our people. And while they're moving it, what are they not doing? They're not doing value-added work. Overproduction is the mother of all other waste. And it leads to the next waste that often happens is inventory. Even though material is good, if stored on site or yard or wherever you store it, it's still waste if the customer is not using it. Now, I'm not suggesting to go to zero inventory. We need to have enough on the job site to keep our crews doing value-added work. I call that strategic inventory. And all beyond that is excess. And I know we have a lot of excess inventory on job sites because at the end of the job, we have to demobilize and we have to take all our excess material off the job site. And I see a lot of material being returned from job sites. One job at a Motorola plant I saw, they had over $1 million left over material. That's a lot of material. And inventory ties up cash, and cash is king in our business. Well, the next waste is unnecessary processing, duplication of work, unnecessary reporting, checkers checking checkers, and checkers checking checkers checking checkers. anything that's non-value added. And if you don't think you have non-value added steps in your processes, you're deceiving yourself, because every company I've ever gone to, when you start looking at the processes, you find non-value added steps. Probably the biggest waste I see in construction is treasure hunting. People on an active job site are walking around all the time. Go to any job site and just watch. People are doing treasure hunts, looking for tools, equipment, material, drawings, information. While they're doing all that, they're not doing work. We add value with our fingers, not with our feet. Movement is not equal to work, and there's a lot of treasure hunting that goes on. Part and parcel with treasure hunting is the transportation of goods. When we move material around, yes, it's necessary to get it from the storage area to the install area, but while we're moving it, unless we're actually, say, for pipe cutting it, beveling it, or welding it as we walk or transport it, it's not value added, and it's waste. We want to minimize it. The last waste I think we all understand is waiting. When our crews are waiting to do the work, waiting for something so they can start, or when you have a workspace or equipment waiting for the crews to come. Workers waiting for work or work waiting for workers, either way, that's waste. Now I want to touch on the 3 priorities of lean management. Since you're all managers, I think you need to understand these and use these all the time. The first one is to keep your crews installing, doing value-added work. We don't get paid if the crews are not doing the value-added work. So that should be our focus. The second is to reduce inventory, but never to reduce inventory at the expense of number 1. We don't want to run out of material and our crews not be able to keep installing. And the third one is to reduce other costs. But again, never reduce other costs at the expense of our crews. I worked at one company and there was a downturn in the economy, and as a management team, we decided we needed to reduce our costs. So we decided to take away cell phones from our foremen because our phone bill was so big. We had about 200 foremen, and we took away their cell phones and gave them pagers. And you're probably all smiling about that because that was a really dumb idea. You think about it, a foreman gets a page. How long does it take them to then answer that page? They have to go find a phone. Cell phones, not cell phones, but pay phones are really plentiful on job sites, right? Well, it didn't take us long to realize that was a dumb idea and to give back the cell phones. Don't reduce other costs at the expense of number 1. Now, some lean basics real quick. First of all, respect for people. And I'm not just talking about how we address other people and what we might call them in bad names. We want to respect them, but more, we want to respect how we work together as a team. And I'll talk more about this later, but we want to show our respect for everyone in working together. Second, go and see, a very basic lean principle. You don't decide to do the 5S's or anything lean in an office and plan it all out and then just go do it. You need to go see what's happening. We don't do lean to people, we involve them in doing it. The next one is in lean that I worked at, that I've noticed, it's about experimentation. Nobody knows all the answers yet. So you do what works and you have ideas. You work to the priorities I just mentioned, and then you PDCA, plan, do, check, act, experiment, and go and see how it works. The last one, especially with lean, is to sweat the small stuff. Lean is not some sexy high-tech applications. Lean is very down-to-earth, simple things to do, but we want to sweat the small stuff to be successful. Now, moving on to lean, I want to mention one quote that Masaki Amai told me. If you don't know Masaki Amai, he wrote the book Kaizen, Gemba Kaizen, and he told me the other day he's got a 3rd book into McGraw-Hill that will soon be published. He will be 90 years old next year, but he's out teaching lean all over the world, a great guru on lean. And he told me if you're not doing the 5S's, you're not doing lean. You're going to have a lot of treasure hunting, especially in construction. He also said if you're spending a whole lot of money doing lean, buying things to do 5S's, then you're not really doing the 5S's. So keep that in mind. So what are the 5S's? They're 5 Japanese words. I just put this up. I can't pronounce the Japanese words correctly. I don't know them and don't expect you to know them. Instead, here they are, a translation in English. The translations may not be perfect. There are other translations out there. What I stress is understand the meaning of each one and how they relate to each other. I see some people changing the order of these 5 S's. I don't believe that's the way you should do it. And you should understand, because this is, I guess I'm a purist from how the Japanese taught me. But the first S is sorting. It means to get rid of the unnecessary and keep the necessary. I grew up on a farm, and farmers keep everything, even though it's no longer necessary. We had a plow for a mule, but never had a mule for 100 years. Well, we can't do that in business. We need to get rid of the unnecessary. And how do you go about doing that? Typically, it's called red tag. I don't use red tags. I use post-it pads. But you go to an area, you explain it to the people, you give them the post-it pads, and you say, now put these red tags or post-it pads on anything you feel is not necessary. The criteria or definition I suggest using for necessary is if we haven't used it in a year and we don't have any foreseeable future use for it, then get rid of it. But the point is, you put the tags on them. That doesn't mean you're going to get rid of it. It means you're going to question it. Questioning is good. So you have a use auction. You look at it and talk with the people there. You don't do the 5 S's. 2 people in your shop, your office, you do it with them. In the field, the same thing. So we discuss it. Do we use it or not? If not, let's get rid of it. I was in one shop and they had this old 10-foot brake machine right in the middle of the flow of everything. And we started questioning it thanks to an apprentice who first brought up the question saying we don't use it. And they really didn't. They had a newer one that they used and we were able to get it out of the way and improve flow. So if you decide to get rid of it, it's not necessary, you have 3 pathways really. First, dispose of it, throw it away. Second, if it still has some value, we'll look for a way to give it away or to sell it on eBay or whatever might work for you. Or if it's hazardous, chemicals or something, batteries you can't just throw away, well then find the least costly way to dispose of it. If on the other hand, you decide to keep it, it's necessary, well you want to look at it and ask yourself, how often do we use it? Maybe once or twice a year, once or twice a month, or do we use it daily or weekly? And that will play into the next S. Let's get to some pictures. The pictures tell more than the words. So here's some opportunities for sorting. Do you see those opportunities? Here's some more opportunities for sorting. Most of this is still good material, but how long has it been there? I always look for how much dust may be on it. There's another opportunity for sorting. Gang boxes, tool boxes, especially the chest type, are great opportunities for sorting. What's in there? We don't even know what's on the bottom and what's all there. And especially if you're a foreman and you need to make sure your crews have what they need to start each day, you don't know if it's all just thrown in there like that. And how much time does it take then to go through it to find what you need? Now I put this picture in because what's on top of that office? Well, it turns out that the only person who really knew had retired when I took this picture. He had retired a few months earlier. Nobody knew what was up there. What good is it for us? We need to know what's there and get rid of what we don't need and store what we do in an appropriate way. Here's some more opportunities for sorting. You've seen them. They're always on job sites and shops and warehouses. There's opportunities to sort. And even our desks have opportunities to sort. If you need to find a certain document, you may spend a lot of time treasure hunting looking for it, if this is what your desk looks like. Hopefully it doesn't. Well, take a minute and think, what are your opportunities to sort at work? And you may also be able to do sorting at home in your shop or closets or things. There's great opportunities for sorting for everyone. Now, the second S is simplifying, or some people translate it as set in order. This is where we take what we decided is necessary and identify a place for it, where it will go based on how often we use it. And the kind of the rule of thumb is if you've done this well, then anyone can find what's needed or can put back something that's out of place. So the three parts for simplifying start with the frequency of use. How often do you use it? If you have something you only use once or twice a year, do you want to carry that around with you all the time? Probably not. You're going to put it in a closet, on a shelf, in a desk drawer, and then get it out when you need it. On the other hand, where do you keep your cell phone? Do you keep it in a desk drawer or in a closet away from you? Sometimes you may wish to do that with all the calls you get, but you keep it right by you. Also think about putting things you use most often in what I call the 45-degree ergonomic area. If you hold out your arms right in front of you, that's kind of a 45-degree area. That's the sweet spot where you want to put the tools and things that you use most often so you can get them quickest. I watched the man fabricate some ductile the other day, and he's working on a table and he keeps spinning around behind him to grab tools to work on the duct. Well, all day spinning around like that is not good for your body, and they needed to put the tools out where he needed them so he'd have them when he needed them. The second thing we want to do is to label or mark in some way everything so that it's easy to see where it goes. Shadow boards, color coding, labels, some way pictures, some way to show where everything goes. And then the third thing is to deal with consumables, such things as hardware, chemicals that we use, welding rods, different things that we use up. We want to have enough of those and never run out so our crews don't stop and are waiting, but we don't want to have too much and be flooded with this material. So we'll show you how this works. Well, back to pictures. This is a shadow board. It's not the best picture because you can't see the shadows behind it because all the tools are there. But I guarantee you behind each of those tools is the shadow of that tool. So each one of us would know where it goes. Here's another shadow board. Even though I just changed the slide to it, I bet it right off the bat you could see, because of the labels of the shadows, some things that are missing. Now this particular picture also, you notice the green. In this shop they fabricate in 4 different areas. This is all the tools are green in the green area. Another area is orange, another area is white, another area is blue. So at a glance you can see if the tools are in the right place or right work area. Color coding is a simple way to do that. Now, this is another opportunity for simplifying. In construction, we're real good at reusing cardboard boxes. We environmentally recycle them. But the problem is we put stuff in the boxes, we don't label the boxes. So if I ask you to go over and get a certain part, think of how much treasure hunting you might have to do to find the part in whichever box it's in. The other thing to point out here is what happened, I'm sure, either the same day or a few days after I took this picture, is that the general contractor superintendent came by and he said, move it. Now look at what's there and you tell me how long that would take you to move it. And yes, if you had 2 or 3 people at it, you could move it faster. But while you or someone else is moving it, what are you not doing? You're not adding value. Now I like the upright game boxes like this, where it's easy to see where everything is. And in this particular one, in the upper left side, you can see there's kind of a picture of the game box. What you can't see, the white sheet next to it has numbers on it, and it lists what goes in each number, which is put on the picture, which corresponds with the game box. And then you see labels, the little white labels as well. Now, to me, this is a great game box to use, but I'm sure some of you are already thinking that, yeah, that looks great, everything's nice and new. What happens at the end of the first day? The workers will just come and throw everything back in. Well, this is where I say we teach our people respect for each other. Teach our people to put things back so that they're respecting themselves and everyone else, so we can find it when we need it. And if you're a foreman, at a glance, looking at this type of game box, you can see if something, say a sawzall or a drill is missing, that your crew will need the next morning. And you want to make sure that all of it is there. Now, not everyone likes these upright game boxes. And so one company showed me how they did it in a chest box. Again, the labeling, the organization. but you have to maintain the discipline and teach your people to respect each other, to put things back at the end of each day. One company decided to assign an apprentice to put everything back at the end of the day, so the workers would just kind of throw things in and then the apprentice would put it back right. Well, then they decided it'd be better to have all the workers take a turn doing it, so they would rotate each day whose turn it was to put things back. And as they started rotating and the workers started seeing and having to do it themselves, everyone started getting the idea that maybe if they just put it back to begin with, it would be better. Now here's some welding rods before and after, much more organized in the after mode to find what you need and get going. This is a gang box, toolbox for a oil refinery. They use a lot of bigger tools and equipment, and they said those other gang boxes aren't going to work. So we didn't do it to them. We said, you design your gang box, and this is what they came out. So they knew where everything was. Now I want to talk about the replacement of consumables. The term is called Kanban. It's a Japanese term, but it means a signal to replace. And the way it works is pretty simple, and there's a million variations of it. But let me explain one, and that is on the right, you see the two boxes. Suppose those boxes or bins hold hardware, say screws. Well, the workers will pull from the first bin till it's empty. And there's a card on it that gives all the information of what the part is, how to reorder it, who to reorder it from. So when the bin is empty, you remove it, you give the card to whoever places the order. The second bin slides down in place. We still have the screws there to pull from. We keep working. Then we get the other one filled up. It goes in the back, and you just keep the rotation process. You don't have too many, but you have enough. Well, the min-max is the same type of thing. Here's an actual example. This is a part for sheet metal fabrication. And when we get down to the red line, as you can see, that's the minimum. We need to fill it up to the top again. The Kanban card, the signal to replace card, is there in white on the right. Now, I know, looking at this right at a glance, that they haven't reordered anything yet because the white card is still there. It's magnetic. You pull it off, you give it to somebody who's going to reorder it. There's a yellow card behind that white one with the same information on, only it stays there. So I see the yellow card, they're reordering it. The white card, they haven't ordered it yet. Here's another example. This company would sometimes have too many valves or too few, so they decided that they needed 3 as a minimum, kind of their strategic minimum, and they put that in the red zone. And then the other valves go in the green zone, and the card there, and I didn't take a real good picture so you can't see the writing on it, but it has all the information for reordering when they get down to the red zone. A lot of variations you can use to make sure you have what you need. Well, where can you do some simplifying? Where are some opportunities to improve on how you simplify things in your operation? Third S is sweeping. And this means to physically clean things up. That avoids accidents and allows us to work better and have more pride in our work, but also to visually clean things. What I mean by that is, if I'm walking through an area and I see a tool out of place and nobody's using it, even though I didn't use that tool, I will take responsibility and show respect for my fellow workers and put the tool back where it goes. That way, anyone that needs it will find it easily and get on doing the value-added work. Now, sweeping is also a way of identifying problems. So when you put back a drill, you notice if the cord is frayed or different things like that, so you can get it taken care of before the next person then has to maybe run into a problem using it. This is a study that was done at Harvard University. I thought was very interesting to share. They took 2 groups of students. In one group, they put them in workspaces that were very cluttered. And in the other one, they put them in uncluttered workspaces, and they gave them both the same tasks to do. And what they found out is those in the cluttered workspaces worked about 11 minutes without interruptions, and then they usually would be interrupted and not stay focused. Those in the uncluttered workspaces would work for 18.5 minutes. Well, that's 7.5 minutes difference or over a 50% improvement in productivity. Which would you like to have in your operation? The fourth S is to standardize. We want to standardize how we do the 5S's and how things work so that people don't have to relearn things. So what do we want to standardize? Standardize our labeling, our color coding, how we organize things so it's the same everywhere, every job site. Standardize our tools and equipment where possible so I don't have to relearn how to use this particular piece of equipment. Standardize forms. Now, a lot of people are using electronic order forms, but I've still seen where people are using different forms, ordering the same stuff on the same job site. Simplify it. We want to standardize our game boxes. Now, yes, you want to have different game boxes, toolboxes for the different trades. So you'd have one for plumbers, for pipe fitters, for steam fitters, for iron workers, for cement guys, for electricians, for air conditioning people. So you have different game boxes for each one, but standardize the type of each box. Standardize your yard layout so that when people come to your yard, they know we usually store this type of tools in this area of the yard, and it's all easy to know because it's the way we've done it before. Standardize your trailers. Now, I'm not saying go out and buy all the same trailers. That's nice, but probably not possible. But standardize the layout within your trailers and standardize how you instruct your suppliers and people to deliver stuff to your job site. So it works the same and people don't have to relearn. Now, here's an example of visually showing what needs to be done, standardizing. This is standardizing for welding equipment. This is actually a picture of a car that is in a work area, and it tells what should be at the welding machine and what should not be there. And it's very clear what needs to be done at each day. Okay, this is another one. This company standardized pretty much what they were keeping in this Connex and inventory. But the point I wanted to make here is the foreman, after they had it all set up and organized better, then he said, wait a minute, our suppliers deliver to our job site every day. What is it that is in here that they don't deliver? And after they looked at it, they found that they delivered almost everything there. And so they were able to cut back on the amount they were keeping at the job site because they knew the suppliers would deliver it. Standardize your toolboxes. Standardize in the office where things go and organize them so that people can get in and out of the office quickly. Now, it's good to have lean communication boards, and those should even be standardized. Have information on those about your meetings, your audits, and take pictures before and after. The last S is self-discipline, or translated as sustain. We want to maintain the gain. And how we do that I have found the best way is to do a self-audit. You have a form, you assign 2 people once a month to go through an audit, and you rotate who does it. Don't have the foreman or superintendent do it all the time. And what you want to do is have them go through and check what's being done, what's not. That's a good educational process for them. Then you hold a meeting, you go over it with all your people in a daily huddle or toolbox talk, and go over what you're doing. And as you progress, then you reach a certain point of success. And what I suggest is management then brings in lunch for everyone. In the US, the lunch of choice is usually pizza. I don't know what it is in Ireland, but management should be willing to celebrate progress and victories. Now, I have this little @ sign to remind me to tell you, if you would like a copy of an audit form, I just send me an email and ask for it, and I'll send it to you. It's free. I don't charge anything for it. It's an Excel spreadsheet. You can change it. You can alter it, take in additional information, take off lines, whatever works for you. The one I'll send you has shop, field, office, and also service work. So it has 4 different spreadsheets that you can use as an audit form. Now, a quick rule of thumb to audit things is called the 30-second test. Excluding travel time, we want to minimize that, but excluding that, when you get to the toolbox, the material crib, wherever you're going, can you find what you need within 30 seconds and be off, or does it take longer? If it takes longer than 30 seconds, You need to work on your organization. And people often ask, what will the 5S's save me? I haven't seen a lot of academic research done that shows what the 5S's save people, because most people say, why fund it? We know it saves time. But what I would suggest is it will save at least 5 minutes per employee per hour. So that's about 8% of the workday. Would you like to get an 8% improvement? I have seen so many times where workers go to get things, they spend 10 to 15 minutes looking, and then they go back and they never found what they were looking for. Some pictures again, a supply room before 5S's, after, a tool crib, this is a mechanical contractor in the Phoenix area, before, after, and the picture doesn't do justice. They load from one side and pull from the other, and they have labels everywhere. It does pass the 5-second test. Now, I mentioned earlier that when you have things that are not on wheels, it takes a long time moving things. Everything should be on wheels. There's a lot of different ways to do that with carts and material, but keep things on wheels. Nothing touches the ground but the wheels. Now, I put this in because I don't know if any of you do service work or not, but look at these two vans. Which one would you like to have show up to your office or your home to do some plumbing? Which one will pass the 30-second test? And remember, the plumber is going to be on your time. Do you want them to spend a lot of time looking for things, or you want them to get to the value-added work? Even your office can be improved. And yes, the one afterwards looks like nobody works there. You can keep your jobs out one at a time when you need it and then put it back. It'll save a lot of time. I can testify to that. Now, I put this in. This was a hospital addition that was done in the Phoenix area. They were doing a $60 million addition. And look at how they set these rolls up for their material management plan. Everything on carts or wheels. Only 3 days material in the work area, just in time. They're removing everything at the end of each shift using the 30-second test. And in the end, from their estimates, they saved $75,000 in site cleanup costs because they had less material and less work. Would you like to save $75,000 on one of your jobs? Well, the 5S's are not always being sustained. Many people tell me, well, we did the 5S's, but we didn't stay with it. Well, what I find is that if people don't stay with the 5S's, it's usually because they have no system self-evaluation. They don't evaluate and improve, and so they kind of deteriorate over time. Why don't they evaluate it? Because the leadership doesn't have a real commitment to it. And why does leadership not have a commitment? They go back to they don't understand why. Why we do it so we can reduce the treasure hunting, the waste, and get a bigger slice of the pie. Now, I wanted to show this picture real quick. This is my neighbor. He's let me have the picture, take it, and he gave me permission to use it. This is not the 5S's. And you probably can see why. There's no labeling. There's no color coding. If I gave you some of those tools that were off and asked you to go put them back, would you know where to put it? I wouldn't. He has his own organization. And the point I want to make, how you organize things at your home is up to you. You use it, you do it your way. But we work together in construction, in the shop, in the field. And so we need to have a organized way that we all understand and agree to, and we need to make it visual so it's easy to use. Also, ergonomically, we want to put heavier things lower and lighter things on top, and this doesn't look to me like they've done it that way, nor does it seem to be organized by frequency of use. Again, that's okay for him, but on the work area, we want to do it better. Now, I also want to use this example for you. Some people think when I'm talking about 5S's, I'm talking about, for example, a kitchen that's just spick and span perfect. That kitchen is beautiful, but it's not 5S's. If I went in there and tried to cook something, I wouldn't know where anything was. We want to make it where people will know where things are. More like a commercial kitchen, where the utensils, the things that people need are out. That doesn't mean they're not clean. It's not a clean area. That's one of the S's, but it's easy to find what you need. by the way, if you're not the person who does the cooking at home, don't go home and start doing the 5S's to your kitchen. If you don't own the kitchen, you could be in trouble. And I don't want any divorces to ever come out of teaching about the 5S's. Is Wastezilla eating your profits? If you're not using the 5S's effectively, you have treasure hunting going on, and yes, he is eating your profits. Well, when we implement the 5S's, things to be aware of. First of all, your workers will like the 5S's. They like a clean and a bright environment. They like that things are organized better, and you'll have less injuries, fewer equipment breakdowns if you're doing the 5S's right, less treasure hunting, more productivity. And then your customers will see how you're organized, and they'll want to do business with you. In fact, when I consult or train with general contractors, I tell them, don't just put in your request for bids that you want people to do things lean. Go and see. That's a lean principle. Go walk their job sites of current jobs. Go walk their shop. Look at their game boxes. Look at how they're organized. You can see if they're doing the 5S's or not. Now, if you do the 5S's, but you don't stick with it, well, things will deteriorate, conditions will get worse, productivity will get worse, and your customers will notice this, and they may not want to do business with you anymore. How to start doing the 5S's? Start, of course, with the first S. Let's sort things out. Use that use auction. And remember, if you haven't used it in a year, maybe you don't need it anymore. You want to do simplification next, where to put things based on how often you use them, and then have a visual way to see it, and use that Kanban for replacing a lot of the small stuff. And then work on your sweeping process. Start with those 5S's. If you haven't done it for a while, but you did it once, start over, do it again. And take lots of pictures. Now, in summary, customers want to add value. They want value for what we do. But we have a lot of treasure hunting going on where the workers are not adding value. If we can reduce that treasure hunting, we can do better at adding value to our customers. And we can organize our workplace to reduce the treasure hunts using the 5S's. If you're not doing 5S's, you're not really doing lean. So what's keeping you from attacking waste? Now, I put this in as the last part real quick, and that is from Shingo, Toyota Production System, Lean System author. He said people would always say to him they're too busy to do 5S's. And what he said he would tell them is, look, you will stop being busy either when you die or when your company goes bankrupt. So you're always going to be busy. Don't just do busy, the same stuff, but use the 5S's to increase your productivity and effectiveness. Okay, now it's question and answer time.
Thanks, Dennis. I'd like to thank Dennis very much for his very insightful presentation. We will now move on to the Q&A. Dennis, we have a few questions in already, so we'll get going with them. We are too busy doing work to stop and organize it. How can we find the time to do it?
Well, you just have to look to take the time. And just like the last quote, you're always going to be too busy, but it's about like the idea of sharpening the saw. You're too busy cutting and you never sharpen the saw. After a while, the saw gets pretty dull. So you just have to take the time to do it. And I find in shops, their workload is up and down. Even in the crews, there's up and down. And sometimes you pay the people to come in on a Saturday, whatever it takes to do it. But when you have something that's a priority in your life, you make the time for it.
Absolutely, yeah. Another question. Every worker likes his or her work area and tools organized their own way. Why have standard ways to organize it?
Well, if they're the only one that uses that in their own area, then I guess that's fine that they have it their way of organizing. But we share things. In our desks, we have purchasing agents that are, sometimes they go on vacation, somebody else has to come in and find the purchase orders to follow up on. On a job site, we usually don't own the gang boxes, the toolboxes, they're common areas that we share. And if you don't allow other people to use it, and you don't have it organized where everyone can use it together, then there's going to be some treasure hunting, some wasted time, because the way I might organize it for me might not work for you. But if we do it that works for both of us and we label it together, then we can reduce the treasure hunting.
Absolutely. Another question. At the end of the shift, workers will put their tools anywhere so they can leave. How do you change this culture to a lean culture of 5 S's?
This is sometimes hard with construction workers, but as I mentioned earlier, the way to start is to talk to them about it, and not from the standpoint I have to do this, but from the standpoint I'm doing it because I respect you. I'll put it back for you, you put it back for me. But as I said earlier, many companies start by assigning apprentices or rotating who has responsibility to put them back so that they get back in the places they need to go, so that the workers see how it works each morning, that they can find what they need real quick and get on with the work. You know, most people signed up to do the work as a trade, and they take pride, they're craftsmen in what they do. But there's no pride in having to search through a game box to find your tool or your safety harness.
Okay, thank you. And we've one more question. What about safety as a 6th S?
A lot of companies think that this is a real, I call, cute way to do it, make safety the 6th S. I think this downgrades the importance of safety. To me, safety is a mindset. It's how you do everything, whether people are there or not. The 5 S's are a sequence. We go through them in order. And making it the 6th S almost says, well, let's wait till we get to the 6th S to do it. Well, we should do safety in everything we do. There's never been a time that I have seen where there's a conflict between being safe and doing the 5 S's. If there is, somebody's got the 5 S's backwards or something. But safety is bigger than an S in the sense of the 5 S's. And so I think it should be separated, but each company does it the way they want.
Okay, that's great, Dennis. I'd like to thank Dennis again for his presentation. A copy of this webinar will be sent out to everyone who attended. The next webinar will take place on the 27th of November. That will be hosted by Glenn Ballard, and the webinar title is Target Value Delivery. We will send out the information shortly via LinkedIn, Twitter, and newsletter. Thank you again from Dennis and myself on behalf of Lean Construction Ireland. You can follow Lean Construction Ireland on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and through the website leanconstructionireland.ie. Enjoy the rest of your day and be lean.
Thank you.
Thanks.